But we got, like I always say, we got to review the world together. Y'all, let's get into it.
Justice for a 9-year-old little girl after more than 63 years. Today, the Bucks County District Attorney announced that a grand jury investigation identified William Schrader as the person who raped and killed Carol Ann Doherty inside a Bristol church back in October of 1962.
Though nothing can bring Carol back, we can finally let her rest in peace, knowing that her story has been told, her truth revealed, and her memory honored.
Well, Kelly, Schrader died back in 2002, but what led to this major development today?
Well, Jason, many things. They say it was a combination of reviewing decades-old evidence, forensic evidence, and recently an interview with the Schrader's stepson where he revealed Schrader confessed that he murdered a little girl in a Pennsylvania church twice. I can tell you investigators spent many, many years working to solve this case.
This finding finally brings closure and a truth to a wound that never healed.
For Carol Ann Doherty's only surviving immediate family member, her younger sister Kay, closure after more than 63 years.
My family finally has the truth that we have sought for 6 decades.
Today, the Bucks County District Attorney identified William Schrader, who died in 2002, as the man responsible for raping and killing 9-year-old Carol Ann Doherty inside St. Mark's Church in Bristol back on October 22nd, 1962. He lived about a block and a half from the church. The DA's office says Carol Ann biked to the library to meet friends and was last seen alive outside the church doors. When she didn't come home for dinner, her parents looked for her father finding her body.
Oh.
She took her final breath in that choir loft of the church that was so sacred to her and to her family.
Wow, absolutely crazy, y'all. You heard? He lived a block away from the church. 6 decades. I gotta remember. They said he died in 2002, so he didn't face any punishment unless you believe in God and you think you know where he felt punishment after his life was ended, but. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely. And the father finds I never wish that on any father, but let's keep going.
The DA says Schrader was questioned by police after the crime, provided a pubic hair sample, and was found to have lied about his alibi. But as investigators honed in on 3 other suspects, Schrader fled south, eventually settling in Louisiana, where the DA says they now know he continued a pattern of violence against his own family members.
We know that William Schrader's history of sexually violating little girls, it's the likes I have never seen as a career child abuse prosecutor.
The DA says in 1993, 141 samples of pubic hair were tested, collected from men over the decades, and all of them were eliminated except William Schrader's, but it wasn't enough. Investigators tried to test evidence from the case to build a DNA profile, but were unsuccessful. DA Shorn says in that process, investigators became laser-focused on what they did have, and it led to a recent interview with Schrader's stepson, who revealed Schrader confessed to the murder of a little girl in a Pennsylvania church on 2 separate occasions. They presented their decades-long investigation to a grand jury who formally found Schrader committed the crimes.
The work that was done to keep this alive was nothing short of remarkable.
It was a shroud of the town. Nobody could go outside. Everybody was heartbroken over it.
Radio personality Mike Missinelli, a cousin of the Bristol police chief at the time of the crime, launched a podcast last year on the case with the goal Kay and investigators like his cousin, who since passed away, could finally get closure.
I think he's really happy. I think he's smiling up there.
We can finally let her rest in peace, knowing that her story has been told, her truth revealed, and her memory honored.
And the DA said today that grand jury investigation included reviewing and eliminating those initial prominent suspects, which did include a reverend at the church at the time. Sheba.
Absolutely crazy. I am happy that someone was actually keeping up with this case. 62 years, that's a lot of time for stuff to fall through the cracks. People not even think about it anymore. Wow, let's keep going. We got one more video to look at.
We begin this half hour with the conclusion of a cold case murder more than 60 years old. This week, prosecutors in Pennsylvania said they now know who killed a 9-year-old girl in a church back in 1962. We first brought you this story last year when a local Philadelphia sportscaster with a connection to the case helped to rekindle the investigation. On an October evening in 1962, Carol Ann Doherty was murdered in a Catholic church in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Her body was found by her father under a stained glass window in the choir loft.
I was standing on that part. My brother was at the end of the yard, and we were throwing a football, and my mother came out of that side door, racing down the steps to get to right there, so to get us into the house.
Wow. Mike Missinelli, a well-known Philadelphia sportscaster, was 7 years old at the time and lived nearby. His uncle was the town's police chief.
He called my mother to say, something bad happened in this church, get the children in the house, because he didn't know if the murderer was in my neighborhood.
The case haunted Missinelli for decades. Last year, he launched a podcast, The Coldest Murder, in hopes something new might shake loose.
Before killing the kid out of cold blood, committing murder like that, no.
The fresh attention led to new DNA testing from the crime scene, and this week, prosecutors announced they have identified the killer as William Schrader, a man with a long criminal history who fled to Louisiana after the murder. A relative told investigators Schrader confessed to the murder on 2 separate occasions. Schrader was one of 2 suspects Missinelli zeroed in on in his podcast.
They had been investigating this for years, and the little part I played was just to keep it alive, keep it in the mind's eye.
For Missinelli, knowing who killed Carol Ann Doherty closes a more than 60-year chapter in his life.
In the end, again, why was it so important for you? This wasn't a family member. Why was it so important to you to try to
I think that
get this
Dana,
solved?
everybody who grew up in Bristol at that time was a family member. Not literally, but you know, the shroud that it put over the town, and if you lived with it, you lived with it for so many years.
Absolutely crazy case, y'all. But it's finally got closure. Finally got closure after 63 years. There are some sick people in this world. He immediately fled after the case to Louisiana. The suspect, if you're thinking that is the killer and he flees, you already know that should be your number one suspect. At least that's my thinking. But I wonder why the stepson just now or only mentioned this when the police interviewed him. I'm assuming maybe he just heard it and just put it in the back of his mind, didn't think anything of it. Absolutely crazy. But he died back in 2002, so he got his punishment after he died, if that's what you believe. But this is a crazy case, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. It's just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. We got to review the world together, y'all. We have to review the world together. Keep your head on a swivel. Look after your kids. Look after your wives. Look after your family. Look after your community. It's the only thing we can do. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. All right, everybody. Remember, this is AC Reviews the World. Remember to like and subscribe.